Hey guys, welcome back to Race Creek Cards. I hope everybody's had a really good week and an even better weekend coming up. So the design I have today, I'm not real sure what you would call it. It's not really a tent. It's kind of a tent fold. It's kind of like a card within a card. Anyway, we're going to get into it. You name it, whatever you like. And in the meantime, I'll try to figure out what label I'm going to put on my video. All right, here's our color palette for today. I'm going to be using Flirty Flamingo, Daffodil Delight, Soft Seafoam, and Garden Green. Now, I am using for the sentiments out of the new Comforting Thoughts that is in that new online exclusives. Hopefully you guys got to put your order in last week when they went live to you guys, and they are on the way to you. And that's always so exciting to, have new goodies to play with. But this is a wonderful, wonderful set. And I'm so glad I didn't put off ordering it because I almost did. Okay, so we're going to be using this. We are also going to be using the Ornate Border dies, which I am really trying to get out some of the things that are still current and play with them that I haven't been playing with. Because guess what, guys? Next Monday, on the 18th, us demonstrators will see an online PDF of the new catalog. Okay, it's coming, and it's coming really fast. So bear with me these next few videos. I'm going to be bringing out things that I'm afraid may retire and I won't get to play with them anymore. And so, yeah, and we've got so many wonderful things, don't we, in the annual catalog as well. And then, and I hope it doesn't offend any of you, I am going to be using this set from Altenew. I ordered it, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I've played with it a little bit, and I wanted to play with it some more. It is called Dynamic Duo Floral Whimsy. So here's the stamp set, and I've already got the stamps pre-mounted in my Stamparatus, and I'm using my Stamparatus today because I've got my Misty set up for mass production, okay, and I've already got a stamp and everything in there. And I'm not going to move it. I'm not going through that aggravation again of getting that particular stamp lined up. And so here are the outlines, anyway, of the stamps that coordinate. And there is, I ordered the add-on die, which is, let me get it out, right here. Let me just move this out so you can see what this set does. I do have the stencils, and I've already done all the stenciling. There are 2 layers. There's a 1 and a 2. And, yep, they're still in the package. They fell out. I try to keep all of this together. The die, the stamps, everything. So let me slide these out so you can see them. And the thing I love about Altenew, they've got that layering guide, and it even tells you it's only at 40%, right? So these are 6x6. I cut my cardstock at 6x6, and I took my number 1, and I doubt you can see it on the screen, but it does tell you there's a number 1. It's got it labeled, and that's exactly how it goes down when you can see the writing right side up. Okay, it's not mysterious at all. And then here is stencil number 2. And then here is a sample of your completed image after you've also stamped on there. Okay, so what I did for today's card, I did do a card, a sample card, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. Wasn't totally happy with it, and I thought, well, I want to redo that. Let me slide this back down in here. And I've gone ahead and done the stenciling because it takes a hot minute, guys. It does. It takes a hot minute. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the die out because we'll be using that here in a second. Before we get into the card design and the measurements and all that you're going to need to replicate this, let's go ahead and stamp this because All right, so here's my stenciling. I've got one little tiny boo-boo right there. I got over with the green. So, no biggie. We probably won't even use that on today's card. But I want to use the VersaFine. And it's called VersaFine for a reason. And it's a pigment ink for fine details. And those lines are fine. It's a pigment ink. It's going to take a hot minute to dry before I can die cut it. So let's go ahead and just stamp these out now. You can probably see, you know, I've changed my mind several times onto the color scheme. So this time I used Fresh Freesia. And on one layer, I just went very lightly with the ink blending. And then I got really heavy with the ink blending. And it looks like a totally different color. But I promise you, all I used was Fresh Freesia. But isn't that cute? It's called Whimsy Dynamic Duo Floral Whimsy. And it is kind of whimsical. And sometimes I like that look. So I've already got my stamps placed. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first inking with this VersaFine. I've got one stamp there. It's kind of close. Kind of close. But yeah, the pigment ink will take just a hot minute. And this is not an ink you want to use if you're using alcohol markers or anything. It's okay for watercoloring, but not for alcohol markers. And so if I'm going to use alcohol markers, I can bring in my Hero Arts Intense Black or Memento, either one. A lot of times if I've got my Memento packed up for a card class, I'll just go ahead and default to one of these others. So it just depends on what I'm doing. And looking pretty good. I can see where I totally missed it there. And let's just do that one more time. I see I'm a little off there, but we're going to be die cutting all this out. I'm not too worried about it. As you can see, each time you do this, you get 5 leaves, and I generally will not use more than 3. So I think we're good there. And let's get this again. More time, make sure that gets on there. Sometimes when you're trying to line up a whole lot of stamps at one time, you may jiggle one out of place and may not notice it. And I'm guessing I kind of did that a couple of times. It's okay. And I am still not real happy. I'm not sure why that one, I'll have to push a little bit firmer on that one. Because these are fine lines, I don't want to mash real hard. That would kind of defeat the purpose. But this ink, this VersaFine, is formulated for those tiny lines. And sometimes we have really thin, delicate fonts in our sentiments and sometimes on our stamped images. And so we want to be sure to not undo all that, right? Okay, that's looking pretty good. That one right there is being stubborn. And I think it's because I have the magnet in here. Okay, and let me get my cleaning cloth. I'm going to wipe these off and reposition. I didn't have my bag all the way closed up. I've actually got a corner that is a little on the dry side, but it's still damp enough. I don't care if I get inky. I was good and inky after I did all my ink blending, but it was so much fun. I love using stencils. I love them. We don't get enough of them, I don't think. And I've been seeing all kinds of stencils out there on the market that I would love to get my hands on. But I have a limited budget, just like you do. All right, I'm going to take off this and for the leaves, because I do want more leaves. And that looks pretty good. You see how this one is kind of got that little dip in it? Well, you can kind of see where that's going to go. Now, I've got some other leaves that I've done, and I did the Soft Seafoam and the Garden Green. These came out a little darker, so I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use yet. However, when I die cut this, it's going to die cut everything out. And of course, yes, I could still go back and stamp somewhere else. Let me get this on here. I could stamp it with an acrylic block, put the stamp on a block and still stamp it even after it's die cut. However, all right, let go of me. Let go of my ego. Come on, get on there. Am I lined up? Pretty close. They're not really wanting to coexist right there. They're kind of close. A little bit. Okay, and I want some more flowers. See, my hand just touched that. And it can be so much fun to get this stuff lined up, which is why I did a lot of this off camera before being with you guys today. I'm itching to get outside. It's beautiful, and I have more seeds I need to get started. And I'm not sure, for the first time ever, I ordered some Lysianthus seeds. And if you're not sure what the Lysianthus flower is, it's spelled L-I-S-I-A-N-T-H-U-S. Beautiful, beautiful flower. I actually found one in bloom last year at Home Depot. Beautiful, deep, deep purple. Thick leaves. In fact, it looked fake. It was so pretty. Oh, it was so pretty. Oh, I don't need that one. Don't need this one. And let's do 2 more leaves and a couple of these little flowers anyway. I'm not going to take up all your time today with this. Let me double check one more time, just to kind of make sure I'm where I need to be. That one's going off just a little bit. If that one's off a little bit, no biggie. And you'll notice there's not like a stem for these little ones, but let me tell you what I do. I take these little ones and I arrange them on the card. However, you know, you can put them across the bottom, you can stagger them, and just take a jet black ink pen and draw your little stem. You're good. You're good. It's really cute. I've done that. I couldn't find the sample card. I had done that on here a while back just to get those used. So, am I good? Gee, I hope so. Let's sketch that over just a titch. Alright, let's see what we get here. Let's go ahead and ink this up again. And I don't want to overdo it. You know, it's better to stamp it 2 and even 3 or 4 times than to try to get all that ink on there at one time. And I'm gentle. I'm very gentle. I had to get hard with that one, and it might have been because of that magnet, not sure. But I'm gentle. I don't push real hard. Okay, let's go one more time. But I hope y'all end up liking this design. I haven't even showed you my sample card yet. Let me do that here in just a second. Getting the cart in front of the horse, aren't I? You don't even know what we're doing yet. Okay. You do see some of this DSP laying here that I have already pre-cut. And that came from the DSP that coordinates with the Zinnia set. Just right offhand, I totally forgot what that's called. The stamp set and the dies are called simply Zinnia. Oh, let me get my pack here. Flowering Zinnias, 12 by 12 designer series paper. If I turn it over, That's the print on the other side. All right, I think I'm good there. Let me go ahead. Let me just go ahead and do it. Let me go ahead and do this one. Get on there. And that small flower. Let's go ahead and get this one done too. Do I have it in there right? I'm looking to see where my little lines are going to go. I don't think I'm right. Let me turn that. That lines up. That lines up good. This has actually been a really fun set to use. And I appreciate the fact you've got this large design. And when you cut it out, you have got enough to do 3 cards if you want to get 3 cards out of it. 4 if you use these by themselves on another card. Okay. There we go. All right. That's good. That one's a little light, but it's okay. We're not going to go through that again. Let me clean this off best I can. And I will tell you, if Memento Black is all you've ever used, you're not missing out. Really, you're not. I like to explore. I like to expand. I like to try new things. And we're going to bring this out. And I'm going to very carefully lay this over to the side while that's drying. And we will get into showing you what we're making today. Should not need my stamparatus anymore. So here's my sample card. And I wasn't really happy with it. Okay, do you see this? Isn't that cute? I started out with that Flight and Airy that was free during Celebration, and most of you have it. And then I was trying to draw. There's not a whole lot of the purples in here. You're seeing a lot more of the peach, and I thought, well, I could draw that out, but I don't think I managed to pull that off. So I did the light fresh freesia and then the real dark fresh freesia. And did my leaves. But I just wasn't totally happy. Looky there. See how that ink doesn't dry right away? And I've smudged that. I'll fix it. Not a problem. Anyway, this is what we're going to be making. And then when you open it up, and you have options here, okay? You have options. You can decorate some more. You can put a scripture, a different sentiment, or whatever on there. And then when you open it up. So, I don't have all the right words to say. I do have lots of love to give. So, we're redoing the colors. So, what you are going to want for the main base of your card, you're going to want this 4 1/4 by 11. But we're going to cut this down to 7 1/2 and bring in my trimmer. Let's cut this down. I got to bring out my arm. We're going to cut this down to 7 1/2. And that's going to give me a nice piece to use somewhere else. And then we're going to take that same thing and we're going to score it at 5 1/2. Just like you normally would on a 4 1/4 base. So we're going to score that. Okay. I'm going to lay this over here. I'm going to move these stamps. I will take and scrub them really well again in my Stampin' Scrub before I put it away. For your inside card, you're going to want a piece that is 3 1/2 by 9 1/2. We're going to score this at 4 3/4. So there's my 4 3/4. That will score that right in half. Okay. And right now, let's just pause for a second. Because my main card base, I do want to go ahead and I'm not going to burnish this, but this flap is going to fold forward. That's going to be this part right here. But before I do that, I do want to get out my ornate border dies. And I just wanted a little bit of decoration. Didn't have to be all that. And so I am using this one. Almost kind of reminds you of notebook paper, sort of. All right. I know this is going to be my front. So I'm just going to place this on there. I'm going to take a piece of Post-it note tape and tape that ever so firmly. And I'm going to bring up my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. We're going to run this through. And I'm going to double check before I run it through to make sure it didn't shift. Let's see here. Make sure it doesn't shift. I want to go from this direction in. And it's a really wide die, but you do have room to get that in there. And I'm just double checking to make sure I'm right on the edge. I don't want to be off the edge. I want to be right on the edge. This little piece of tape has been used 2 or 3 times already. So it may be trying to give up the ghost. But I want that right. There we go. And let's run this through. I thought about doing this part in advance too. And I thought, well, gee, you know, y'all need... Oh, I didn't have it quite right, did I? And the reason I thought about pre-doing this, let me back this out and move this over. I'm too close to the side over here. Need to kind of finagle that a little bit more. Now let's see if I'm going to clear. Am I going to clear? I'm going to clear. Yeah, we're good. Yep. And it's a humpy hump. There we go. All right. Because even the first time I did it, I had to stop and pick out each one of those little holes. And I'm probably not going to take time on camera to get them all, because the ones in the middle are going to be covered up anyway. But I will need to get a few of them on either side poked out. Just going to peel that off. And right now, I'm putting my die back up. When I sell my retired stuff, I can't charge a decent amount if something is missing. So, all right. So, I'm just going to poke out some of these on this either side. Not a whole lot, but I want to make sure I'm good to go. And I got all that. Got one hanging on over here. Then we're going to come over here, get some of this. Oh, come on. Come on now. See, it's trying to kind of cut this off too, and I didn't want it cut off. I wanted this edge here with the little holes. So I'm trying to be careful. You know, we can always kind of adapt and overcome if there's something we want to obtain. And I wanted this to stay attached. But it's such a fine little die. But it would be cute if you wanted to totally detach this strip and maybe use it as a border on your card. But I wanted the whole thing on there. And I think I've gone far enough. I think I have. Just trying to get that to finish letting go. Which is no big deal. I can still come back later and get these. I didn't have this much trouble when I did my sample cards. Okay. And now I've got all this sticking to my mat. And I'm going to take... This is a paper towel I was using because I was cleaning my stencils in between. because when you're dealing with reds and greens, or anything in red family, like your pinks and purples, it doesn't mix well with green. It makes mud. So I was being very careful to clean my stencil before doing my green leaves, etc. Okay. Alright, we have got this part here. At this part, I can fold and burnish that edge best I can. Okay. So we've got this. Now, on the other piece, and this one was 3.5 by 9.5, and we're going to store it 4 3/4. So we're just going to fold that in two. Go ahead and burnish that down. Okay. And on this flap that is going to go on the inside, on this mini card that's going on the inside, I did cut this white layer, and this white mat is cut at 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down. Get a hold of my glue. We're just going to go ahead and mat that. Kind of starting from the inside out today. I see the blue sky and the sunshine, and I'm just itching to be outside. But I enjoy being here with you guys too. You know I do. It's always a delight to be here with you. Okay. Now, before I go any further, I cut a piece of that same DSP, the same overall width, okay? 3 3/4 by 5. And that's going to layer right on top. So I am, at this point, going to use my Gina K tape runner on here. Move this out of the way. I've got a class tomorrow. Been getting ready for it. I need to get everything packed up, and I just have things. You know, like y'all have things. I have things too. We all do. But just in case I don't line this up perfect the first time, I can pick it up. There we go. I think that did pretty well. Pretty well. Now, on the inside here, I'm going to have to cut another piece of white because I'm not going to be able to stamp my inside sentiment. Something I really didn't think about, because on this card, it was light enough for me to go ahead and stamp that. So let me get a sheet of white cardstock. If I can find where I put it. Here we go. Got a sheet of white cardstock. And that was 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to have to go, let me move that out of the way. I'm going to have to go 3 1/2. I don't have a scrap big enough, guys. 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And that should mat perfectly inside. Let's check and see if I did it right. No. Okay. So, didn't hold my mouth right. So that's 3 1/2. So I need to go 3 1/4. We just need to go down 1/4 of an inch. So let's go to 3 1/4. Yep, it was a little too big. Just a little bit. Y'all ever do this in your craft room as you're going? You kind of ad lib? Because honestly, the beginning of this, that's what I did. I was ad-libbing and trying to write notes, and it's a good thing you can't see my notes. This is at 4 3/4, so I need to go to 4 1/2. Way off on that one. So here we go. 4 1/2. Now let's try it. By George, we'll get it right. There we go. There's our little mat. Now, before I glue that in there, and I don't have my grid paper or anything here, but that's okay. I want to take the inside sentiment. I do have lots of love to give. And I've got this laying here. I'm just going to go ahead and use my VersaFine and ink that up. That looks really good because these are really small lines. And hopefully I'll get it straight. I have found, and you might be this way too, I have found I stamp better if I have my cardstock laying wonky, you know, not trying to get it straight up and down. So there we go. That'll work. I would have preferred to have had it in the Misty and stamped that one more time, but it did come out okay. It's okay. Let me get some of that ink off. Now, you will notice if you start using VersaFine, Hero Arts, and some of those other hybrid or pigment inks, it's going to stain your stamp a little bit. Now, mine aren't perfectly clean, howsoever, there is going to be a little bit of staining on there. If that bothers you, stay with Memento. Memento is not going to stain your stamps like some of these other inks are. We're going to go ahead and get this glued in and proceed on. But I'm giving you these measurements as we go. Hopefully you're writing them down. If not, just come back and play the bits you missed. Okay. We have this and this. Now, one other piece that you are going to need for the front of your card, this flap right here, and it is 3 1/4 by 4. Okay. The DSP you're going to put on top of that is 3 by 3 3/4. So we're just going to glue this on here. Get that ready. I've got a piece of DSP to put on that flat first, however. And I'll give you that measurement here in just a second. So this is all going to center just fine. There we go. Now, the piece of DSP for this top flap is 4 by 1 5/8. And go ahead and put that on there. Well, come on. One of my glue bottles, I have the pen. In this one, I have the stopper. Not sure why I don't have the pen on there, but anyway, you have options. Isn't it nice to have options? So there we go. We've got that DSP on there. And I'm going to go ahead at this point and glue this in to the inside of the card. And there's a feature to this I want to show you that gives you even more options in this card design. Because if you should want to put maybe a gift card in here, I'll show you how you can do that too. And am I straight? Good, good, good. Just going to press that down for just a second. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put this flap right here. Now, when you get ready to put this part down, do a dry fit, okay? We have 1/4 inch borders pretty much all the way through, okay? So, kind of look at where it's coming down at here and how much you've got on either side so that you can kind of get that positioned the way you need that positioned, okay? And like I said, there's just put glue right up here on the very top. You're not going to need a whole lot. Whether you're using Tombow or Barely Art or any other wonderful glue that we have on the market for us crafters. Just be mindful of that. Especially if you're watching TV while you're trying to craft. Alright, I slid that. I did. There we go. Now hold that for just a second, and we're almost to the part of decorating. We'll be here in a minute. Now, let me close that up. I'll lay this over to the side for just a minute. We are going to bring up our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine one more time. because now I need to get ready to die cut where we stamped. That's all good and dry now while we were doing the other things. And I'm looking to see if I'm in camera. I'm okay. Oh, all right. We're almost there. A few more minutes and we'll be done, guys. I do value your time. I do. All right, we are going to get this lined up. And I am going to tape it, and I think I would be wise to get maybe a couple of pieces of fresh tape here, as this is a big die. It's covering a large area, and I don't want it sliding. I mean, it would just make you cry after doing all that stenciling, all the stamping. But it's so much fun, especially when you're rewarded with more than enough die cuts that you can get a few cards out of each thing. I'm looking. Here we go. Am I good here? Let me sketch that just a bit. It does. It takes a second when you have kind of a big die. It does. All right, and then after we die cut, I'm going to compare leaves and see if I want the earlier ones I did or if I'm going to go with these. We'll just see what looks the best, especially since we're using that garden green cardstock. Okay. The petal pink ink I didn't feel like was going to show up as well, which is why I chose Flirty Flamingo. But look how these are all just falling out. They're just falling out. It's awesome. I didn't stamp that other leaf, no biggie. Put that to the side. I can always stamp this later. Let me get my pieces and lay them here. We still need to stamp the sentiment for the very front of the card. So we're going to get ready and do that before we start gluing our pieces on. Figuring out what we want, how much we want. And I'm just going to kind of wipe these off over here to the side, and we'll get rid of Big Boss. Won't need him for a bit. Well, shouldn't need him at all anymore. Now, let's bring this back in. I'm going to get real nervy here and stamp my I don't have all the right words. And I want to stamp it right down here. So again, let me get my VersaFine. It will show up just fine without needing another white mat. You would think this card would be ultra thick. And it does have just a bit of heft, but it's not ultra thick. I do want to make real sure I have got that inked up because I only get one chance at this to make sure that shows up really well. Okay, I got a little bit of ink right there. I'm going to wipe that off and then wipe it on my jeans. Okay, I don't have all the right words to say. And a lot of times I don't. You guys may not have that issue. I do. And I moved that just a little bit going down, and it may have smeared. I hope not. I hope not. But again, it's fixable, right? Okay, that does show I don't have all the right words to say. It would have been better if I had had it in my MISTI or my Stamparatus and double stamped it, but that's okay. Onward and upward. Now, at this point, and I tend to go for the bigger flower, I use Daffodil Delight very lightly, and then I put the Daffodil Delight in real dark, so it may look like there are two different inks in the middle, but that's all Daffodil Delight. I didn't bring in Crushed Curry or anything else, and again, I only used Flirty Flamingo, and I got two colors out of it. So we can put that there. And now I want to look and kind of see. These are kind of dark. They're a lot darker than the ones I had done earlier. And I'm trying to decide, do we want to go with the dark? I don't think so. I mean, we've got enough of that garden green going on. I don't think so. I think I want to use the lighter greens. And because I don't know if this will be given in person or if I'm going to mail it, I am electing to glue my pieces down. Kind of want to see how I want that flower to lay. Do I want it in the middle? Let's see. Have a leaf there. And maybe have one down here. Coming off down here. Maybe another one tucked up underneath right there. I don't know. What do you think? Think that looks okay? I think so. I think it looks pretty good. And I, for some reason, do not have a piece of pressing seal laying here. That's okay. We're going to pick this up. And I'm going to put my glue. Hopefully I won't move these out of place where I've got them. Oh, I did. Of course. So I'm going to put the glue right there. And we're going to bring this back up. Let's see where I want them. That actually doesn't look bad right there. I'm going to hold that for just a second. It's not glued down, obviously. We're only attaching the leaves to the back of the flower. But I'm okay with that. And now we can glue the whole thing down. And it's quite all right that it's going to hang over. Obviously, it's okay. It is quite all right. Don't want it hanging over that much. I don't think I put glue all the way to the end. I didn't. You can trim that off if that bothers you. It does not bother me. Okay, there we go. And, you know, we've had this discussion before about retired bling. I have got some old bling here that I feel goes very well with the petal pink and with the flirty flamingo. They're good, they're flat in case I do end up mailing it. And so let's just take a few of these and sprinkle them around on here. I may end up doing 5. I didn't put any bling on the other one. I don't think. No, I didn't. Didn't even get that far. And I do have to fix where that black is. So I'm actually going to end up using 5. I don't a lot of times, but you certainly can. You certainly use 5. There we go. Now, what I did is I took a gift card and I took the deckled rectangle dies, one that was just a little bit bigger than the actual gift card. I took a little bit of tape runner behind the gift card. It's on there, but it's removable by your recipient. However, it's not on there so hard that it's going to damage either the cardstock, whatever. And you can take this, if you want to give a gift card in with your card, right there is a perfect place to put it. It's hidden when the card is closed. But isn't that sweet? It is so sweet. And check this out, guys. You can't really see. I'm going to try to. They can stand it up and display it, even though this is shorter than the card base, okay? They will be able to prop it up. This is going to stick out a little bit further in the back, but they will be able to display your card. All right, guys. Thank you for sticking through this with me and seeing my boo-boos and all that stuff. Hey, it happens to all of us, doesn't it? It does. But anyway, guys, y'all have a very blessed weekend. I will be back with you, Lord willing, next week. Do be safe. Do be blessed. God is good. all the time. Bye.